Alright, first things first, massive shout out to Lagacy because this is like the only doable challenge I feel like in this entire set. Of course, like they can all be done, but when it comes to like, practicality, this one I think is the easiest by far. So this is the Stark Spidey 7.3.6 challenge, and basically you just have to complete the quest with a 5-star Stark Enhanced Spider-Man. So it's pretty like straightforward, and the challenge isn't necessarily that bad because Stark Spidey is a great attacker obviously, and a 5-star one can do a ton of work for sure. And there's also this pretty straightforward path with this acid wash and poison vulnerability. So like the challenge isn't necessarily that bad. Of course, it is still like a 5-star versus Act 7 content and the big bad Kang boss, but I think this is like the easiest one by far to do if you want that Deathless King Groot piece, which I think is worth getting for sure because of the end game with those like collection characters. But yeah, Stark Spidey here is doing amazing. He's doing some very good damage too, like what, a 23,000 crit there, and like the crits on the basic attacks are also just really good. So he gets through the path pretty well. It's not that much to worry about for sure. The only issue is that the Kang boss is just really scary, and also Stark Spidey is pretty like bad for the fight too, and I'll explain why later. But first off, we have the path here, and yeah, this Luke Cage, nothing too crazy. Most of the path fights just aren't even that bad. I think the worst one is an Emma Frost, and even she is like pretty doable. It's just a bit longer than the other fights. But yeah, this Sabretooth here, same exact thing, just pretty much nothing to worry about. Just build up your poise charges, and once you have your poises built up, just do some pretty good damage. Keep the like poison up to get, your damage output, and yeah, once you do that, you're pretty much in a perfect spot. So I just sped this up because it's the same exact thing as the other fight, and like most of these fights are pretty much the exact same, right? Like there is not really something to worry about in these matchups. Maybe Thor Ragnarok and like his power gain, but even then, Stark Spidey has a taunt, so he just counters that very well. So yeah, it's just Stark Spidey is really good for this path. I think that Lagacy made this challenge, I think, pretty doable because the other ones are just really bad. Yeah, like the Attorney of Pain one, the Gauntlet one, it all just looks very scary to do, and I'm not going to mess with those for a while probably. So yeah, no guides for those on my channel, perhaps. Like, I don't know, I'm not fussed about 7-star Mcoc or Stark Spidey at the moment, so yeah, I'm not going to try to rush it, to be honest. Maybe I will, it just depends, but yeah, those just don't look fun at all. But this is pretty fun. I think using Stark Spidey and like, doing this piece of content, which isn't too bad, I think it's a fun challenge for sure. And I think this challenge does match the rewards, right? Because the rewards for the entire thing, it's pretty much just the 7-star like Mcoc or Stark Spidey, right? Because the other rewards are pretty dang mid in my opinion. But yeah, now we have this Nightcrawler fight, and this one I guess is pretty hard to deal with if you can't like get him to switch his forms, but once you get him to switch, it is a pretty straightforward matchup. So yeah, nothing too shabby here either. And yeah, he's about to go into the swashbuckling mode, which is perfect because now he just cannot do anything defensively, and Stark Spidey's just gonna destroy this fight. So yeah, great time. I'm so happy that this challenge is a thing, because if it wasn't and it was like something really dumb like the other ones are, then oh boy, that would have been a grand time. However, there is one challenge that I might want to try out that isn't like from Lagacy, and it's the Avengers challenge by Karate Mike, because that involves Hawkeye, and I have a rank 2 7-star Hawkeye, so I want to see how that one turns out, because I think he can do a lot of work in that challenge. But here we have Green Goblin, and Green Goblin is pretty straightforward too. It's just that like sometimes the block damage is pretty annoying, but then again, you are Stark Spidey, right? So you kind of just evade everything. but if you can't, then it does get kind of like, it gets kind of weird at times. But yeah, just try to manage like your health. But of course, this is a challenge, right? So you're gonna use potions eventually, unless you can just do this item list, then good for you. But I probably can't, even if I like really wanted to try. So yeah, not my cup of tea. By the way, this Dark Spidey is rank 5 non-ascended, and he's also boosted by 20%. So it is like essentially a ascended Starky, but it's not also technically. So yeah, just keep that in mind that this is a boosted rank 5 non-ascended Starky. But now we have the hard matchup. Well, the hard matchup because it's just like a pretty big time stall, because Emma Frost in her diamond form is poison immune. So what you want to do for this matchup is you want to just try to manage her power levels, and you want to make sure that she always has more power than you, because when she does that, she is in telepath form, and in telepath form, she is not immune to poison. So like right there, telepath form, we can poison her now. So keep that in mind, that you want to just try to keep her in that telepath form, and once you do that, you are just pretty much chilling for the rest of the fight. So yeah, not bad in the slightest. Just want to get that telepath form up all the time as soon as possible, and once you do that, you are just in a perfect spot. So yeah, nothing too crazy here, just that was a pretty important part to know about. But after that, it's a really straightforward Stark Spidey fight, and it is really simple. But yeah, Stark Spidey just perfect for this fight yet again. Here she drops CSP2, no big deal. She's back into telepath form, she stays there, and we are just chilling. So yeah, this rest of the fight is just pretty systematic, and once you have this fight down, it is the big bad Kang boss. And yeah, I love that boss still. I think he's still my favorite boss of like Act 7, but not with Stark Spidey, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, Stark Spidey is just not the guy for that boss, and you're gonna see why in a bit here. But yeah, we gotta finish this matchup first. It's looking pretty good so far. She drops CSP1, no big deal. I go back in, and yeah, this should do it. Just like one more combo into the relic kit. There we go. And yeah, that's gonna do it, I believe. Nope, not yet. Just give it a second. There we go. But now it is time for the Stark Spidey versus Kang fight. And here I healed up because this is a pretty scary matchup. And this Kang boss is all about managing your power, right? Because you're gonna get these missions, and it's gonna say like 1, 2, 3, or 0. And you wanna either use a special attack or be at that power threshold before the timer expires, right? So once you do that, you are going to be in a perfect spot, because you get your time collapse charges, and once you get like 3, 4, or 5 charges, he goes into like this mode where he does nothing and he's wounded, right? So that's the whole game plan of this fight. Just get him into that wounded phase, do your damage that way, and you are just chilling. And one thing to note here is that for some phases, you gain power whenever you dex his SP1, and whenever you block it, you lose power. And if you get hit by it, you just get destroyed, right? But don't mind that. That was just me being bad. But like right there, see how it said 1 bar power, and it was like that one icon? Well, I stayed at the bar power, and I got the green light for it because I just stayed at that 1 bar power. Now it says 0 bar, so I'm going to drop the SP2, get myself to below a bar power, and that gave me the green light as well. So now he's wounded, and yeah, there is phase 1 just complete. So not too bad just yet, right? But it'll get kind of worse, and you're going to see that like one part about Starky's kit kind of makes him not too great for this fight, because sometimes when you want to manage your power like as good as possible, you want to just start like trying to block special attacks, right, to lose power. But with Stark Spidey, if you try to block, sometimes he just auto evades, right? And that means that you don't lose the power. So yeah, he kind of just like messes you up big time, and that can just be really annoying. But once you like try to manage that, and by the way, you can't manage it, you have to just try to hope that he doesn't evade. Like right here, he drops the SP1, and I was just hoping that he didn't evade, and there he did not evade, so I got very, very lucky there. But yeah, it's a coin flip, right? It's a coin flip with Stark Spidey in like some of these scenarios, and it is just pretty annoying sometimes, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, here I drop the SP3 for the objective, and we get it down, and he is almost wounded, just need like one SP1, so we gotta start losing power, but we can't because of his evade. So yeah, the evade is just super annoying to deal with. We go back in, drop the SP1, he is now wounded, and yeah, this is just pretty great damage that we can do to this Kang boss. And here we drop the SP3, no big deal. And yeah, we're almost in the second phase, or the second to last phase, sorry, so I'll just let this play out until the next phase. Alright, so here I dropped the SP2, and he is now wounded, and we're now in the second to last phase. So, what happens here? Well, you gain less power whenever you dex, and you also lose more power whenever you block a hit. But like I said, if you want to block a hit, it is essentially a coin flip, because you can't guarantee it, because Stark Spidey just loves to not do that, right? He loves to just evade the attack for some reason, which, you know, is good sometimes for sure, but other times it is just not good at all. So yeah, there is my first, like, KO here, but no big deal. I have a ton of revives in my stash, and I don't think I'm going to do the other challenges anytime soon, so I think it's, like, best to use them here. But yeah, this Kang boss can be a solo for sure, but then again, it is very, very RNG dependent. So yeah, if you don't solo it, it's fine, right? Because this boss is a pretty hard boss fight. And additionally, I forgot to mention, but in this third phase, you lose power consistently over time because of like just how it works, right? But yeah, you lose power over time. So for the SP3 challenge, it's pretty hard to do. And to do it, you want to just try to hit the opponent, or like hit Kang, and right when you hit him, drop the special attack button immediately, because if you don't do it immediately, then you're going to lose power and you'll drop the SP2 instead. So yeah, it's tough to like manage for sure, and you have to have like pretty fast reflexes, but once you get that down, you're honestly just chilling, right? But yeah, here's the SP3 challenge, and he is not playing ball right now, and there I get hit by it. So yeah, that was just a massive loss. He was just not doing anything there, right? It was tough. But check this out. I'm gonna go in, drop a combo, drop the hit, and immediately drop the special attack button afterwards to get that SP3 off, because if I waited like even a millisecond after, I would have just dropped the SP2 instead. But yeah, I'll let some more of this play out, and yeah, just same game plan as the other phases, but the power management becomes a bit tougher in this phase. So here I kind of mess up because I go for the Dex and I try to block that hit, but it just doesn't work, right? Because of Stark Spidey and his dang evade. So yeah, I just cannot survive, and yeah, there goes one revive yet again. But that was still a pretty good attempt, and yeah, I'll see you at the final phase. Just kidding, I messed it up again because I'm a Muppet, and like what happened there? I don't know what happened there even. Like, I thought I did like what I had to do, but apparently not. So yeah, I was confused for a second for sure. But yeah, I just revive here, get just a level 40 or a level 2 revive up, and yeah, we're just chilling now. But that was confusing. That was so confusing because I thought I did like what was necessary, but apparently not. but he is almost down anyway. And yeah, after this is the very scary final phase that is pretty RNG reliant too, but once you get it down, it is just so satisfying. However, there is a pretty big twist whenever I do it in this video, because yeah, I was just so taken aback by this. But yeah, here it goes for the SP1, I dex it, and I'm not going to drop the SP2 here because right after this is the SP3 challenge, so I want to just maintain my power here so I can just get to the SP3 pretty easily once this one goes away. So yeah, the SP2 challenge is done, and here I dropped the SP3, and yeah, that is a very, very important thing as well. If you have like an SP2 into SP3, make sure that you just don't drop the SP2 and just stay at that threshold instead. But he is now in the final phase, and this final phase is just crazy, right? Because you both gain power, and it's like whoever gets to the SP3 first wins. So yeah, we have an advantage here though, because the relic is actually super clutch here. Because look at this. I'm gonna drop the relic, and we still gain power during it, and there we go. We dropped the SP3. And it should one-shot, right? Because, you know, that's just how this phase works. Well, not necessarily, because he's still at 2% and he goes down to 1%. So yeah, didn't even work there, so that's fun. But yeah, I get KO'd, and there goes one revive yet again. But it is what it is. He's down to like 1% health, so the final SP3 should do it, like for sure. So we go back in, and it's time for the final phase yet again. Now, we don't have the relic this time, so we are pretty much at a big disadvantage here, but we still do pretty decent, I want to say. Here, he's just building up that power, but so am I. So yeah, we're just in a decent spot. He gets to the SP3 first, but I don't care. I just play it slow, draw my own SP3, and yeah, that just does it. So overall, very fun matchup. And a pretty scary ending, but once you get him down, it just feels so good. And there we go, challenge complete. And here I get the 7-star shards, and I get the Deathless King Groot piece. So yeah, great time. 6-star selector, just gonna go with Tigra here because why not? The rest of these characters I'm not too fussed about. But yeah, there we go. Got a free 6-star Tigra, got some more 7-star shards, got a Deathless King Groot piece. You'll love to see it. But let me know your thoughts on this challenge, and yes, about it for me.